Why these legends quit bull riding too soon. That hit ended a career in less than 5 seconds. One bull, one wrong move, one sound you never forget, and it wasn't even the worst wreck that season.
The tour with that broken neck. Rough neck is unwritten. Oh, and it's going to stay that way, and you got to be kidding.
Watch the flashbulbs. Here we go.
Some cowboys were built for long runs. Others had their whole world ripped away in a single heartbeat.
The shot, the helmet goes.
Today we're talking about the riders who didn't quit too early. The sport just ended them too fast. Alright, let's start with Paulo Crimber and the bull that literally landed on him. Paulo Crimber was one of those guys who rode with calm nerves but carried a fire in his chest. In Orlando, he dropped down on Roughneck, thinking it was just another fight. But the second that bull slipped and came down on him, everything changed.
That broken neck. Rough neck is unwritten. Oh, and it's going to stay that way, and you got to be kidding.
Roughneck came down full weight on Paulo and snapped the same C1 vertebra he'd already broken once. That kind of pain hits you deep. It shakes your bones. He also broke his collarbone, but honestly, that almost didn't matter. The neck was the real threat.
Just so unbelievable of a guy that come back from a broken neck and know the odds of...
Doctors didn't sugarcoat it. One more hit like that, and he could lose everything. Paulo knew right then the road had run out. His neck was too fragile to gamble with anymore. A cowboy can push through pain, but he can't outrun a broken spine forever. So he hung it up. Not because he wanted to, but because the sport took the choice away. Next comes Mike Lee, and his story hurts in a different way. Mike Lee was pure grit. No drama, no bragging, just a tough cowboy who rode through things most men wouldn't survive. Back in 2003, when he got thrown by a bull in Fort Smith, it was bad, straight to brain surgery. Most folks would have never climbed on another bull again. Mike did.
Talk about an extreme sport.
He came back like nothing happened, even though he lost vision in one eye. He rode with that for years, but the hits kept stacking up. By 2017, his body was worn down, shoulders loose, knees shot, head ringing all the time.
Almost the identical time, and oh man.
Pain that followed him day and night. He tried pushing through like he always did, but this time his body didn't bounce back. That spark he needed to stay in the game was slipping away. He wasn't quitting. His body was shutting the door for him. If you think bull riding can't take out a legend overnight, J.B. Mauney's last ride will change that. J.B. Mauney was the kind of cowboy people thought would ride forever. Tough as nails, fearless, and built for the spotlight. But at the Lewiston Roundup in Idaho, everything changed fast. He nodded, the gate kicked open, an Arctic assassin exploded. A couple of seconds in, the bull snapped him forward with a violent whip. His neck broke at C4 and C5, and it was over before he even hit the dirt.
That is a no score. That bull.
Surgery followed, but the damage was too deep. Doctors told him the truth straight away. His spine wouldn't take another hit, so the man who spent years riding through hell had to call it quits. JB didn't get beaten often, but this one got him, and he knew it. Then there's Jerome Davis. One horn shot, and his career was over. Jerome Davis walked into Fort Worth that day expecting another fight, not the end of everything he loved. Knock him out. John bucked hard, real hard, and threw him straight over the front.
He brought me and hit me in the temple, knocked me out. And when he knocked me out, I didn't have my hands in front of me to...
Jerome flew forward and struck the bull's horn head first. The impact crushed his neck and tore through his spinal cord. One second, he was riding strong, and the next, he couldn't move anything below his chest.
To block the fall, and that's when I broke my neck. So, you know, from then, things changed.
The arena went silent. Everyone knew it was bad. That wreck didn't just take him out of the event, it took him out of riding forever. But Jerome didn't disappear.
Tough. Having about 15% of your body that worked, I mean, it was a lot on.
He stayed in the sport, coaching, inspiring, proving that even when the body gives up, the cowboy heart doesn't. Coming up, the Bodacious hit that nearly ended Tuff Hedeman right there. Tuff Hedeman had already proven himself a legend long before he ever nodded his head for Bodacious in 1995. But that night in Las Vegas changed his whole world. Bodacious came out strong, then threw one of those brutal back whips he was known for. Tuff held on for a moment, but the bull's skull slammed into his face with full force.
Please watch the flashbulbs. Here we go.
His jaw shattered, his nose broke, his cheekbones collapsed. It wasn't just a wreck, it was a wreck that rearranged his entire face. Surgeons put him back together with plates and screws, but even they knew the damage was huge.
This hit. Right there, Donnie Gay, really hitting right in the face. As you say, the second one caught him in the shoulder.
Tuff tried coming back because that's who he was, but he could never return to full-time riding. Bodacious had taken something from him that no cowboy can replace. But before you think one wreck was enough, Bodacious smashed Scott Breding next. Scott Bingham knew exactly what he was getting into when he drew Bodacious. Scott strapped on a hockey mask, hoping it would give him at least a fighting chance. Bodacious didn't care. The chute opened, and within 4 seconds, the bull snapped him forward and smashed him with a violent head strike that knocked him out cold.
Keep your butt down in there, Scotty, right there, bull! Come on, Scott! Look out! Well, ladies and gentlemen.
His face took the full blow. Eye socket fractured, nose broken, cheekbone crushed, orbital bones shattered. It was a wreck that would have finished most men right then.
Everybody quit grinding your teeth. Everybody think positive for those of you.
Scott came back later and kept competing, but the truth stayed with him. He never fully healed, never fully returned to the rider he once was, and the injuries finally caught up with him in 2001. Then there's Chris Shivers, not taken out by one bull, but by years of punishment. Chris Shivers wasn't pushed out of the sport by one wreck. He was worn down by hundreds of them. 14 years of giving everything he had to bulls that didn't care who he was or what he'd already survived. He took concussions that rattled him for days. He took slams that folded him in half. He broke bones, healed them, then broke them again. That was his life. He kept riding anyway because that's what he knew. Get up, nod, hang on. But the damage stacked up. It got heavier every year. By 2012, at just 34, his body had reached its breaking point.
Down to the left, and Shivers is ridden 3. And Shivers is moving to number 3 in the world. What happened?
His last ride wasn't some wild, dramatic wreck. It was slow, painful, and clear. His body couldn't take the impact anymore. The sport hadn't beaten his spirit, but it had worn down everything else. Up next is Terry Don West, whose ride on Bodacious sent him straight to the hospital. Terry Don West had already proven he could ride Bodacious once, so when he drew him again in 1994, he knew the danger but stepped up anyway. Bodacious dropped his front end and then snapped upward with that violent head whip he was famous for.
People, $60,000, 8 seconds in a challenge. There is no way in the world to predict what can.
Terry took the hit across his chest and side, and the damage was brutal. His collarbone was broken, 3 ribs were shattered, and the lung was punctured.
Is that when you take 1,850 pounds of force and a man who...
They rushed him out of that arena fast, and it was clear this wasn't just another wreck. Terry pushed through recovery and even came back to ride Bodacious again in 1995 for a full 8 seconds, one of the few men ever to do it twice. But the truth is that 1994 hit stayed with him.
But here is what pain is all about. Can you perform her?
It added to the years of injuries his body had already collected. And if you think one wreck can't break a career, Brennan Clark proves it wrong. Brennan Clark had already taken more hits than most riders see in a lifetime, and he was still young. He loved the sport, loved the fight and the rush, but when he dropped down on black smoke, things went bad fast. The bull slammed him straight in the chest with the kind of force that caves a man in.
Oh, here it is, black smoke!
His liver got lacerated, his lung was bruised, ribs cracked like twigs. And the worst part? This wasn't even his first big wreck. This was injury number about 101, and his body had nothing left to give.
It's Andy Freeman down there with Brennan Clark right now, so.
Doctors warned him straight up, another trauma like that could shut his organs down. At just 28, he had to choose between risking his life and walking away from the only thing he knew. Finally, there's Austin Meyer's last big wreck, the one that made him choose life over another ride. Austin Meyer was one ride away from being one of the greats, but his body paid the price long before the fans ever saw it. At a Challenger Series event, he nodded for a bull named Perfect Poison, and the ride went sideways fast. The bull bucked him off and stomped straight down on his head.
Perfect Poison. Oh, boy. He's down, guys. He's still down.
His helmet saved his life, but he still walked away with a concussion and facial fractures. That wreck was bad, but it wasn't the only one eating at him. Years of awkward dismounts and brutal slams had wrecked his lower back.
The shot, the helmet goes.
Herniated discs, constant pain, no real relief. He could barely sleep, let alone ride like he used to. Austin knew the direction he was headed, and he didn't want to miss out on life outside the arena. So he stepped away early, choosing his future over another 8 seconds of punishment. Their riders weren't done riding, their bodies were done paying the price. And that's a truth every real bull rider understands. Which rider do you think left the arena too soon? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing which wrecks and riders still stick with you. Hit like and follow for more stories from the dirt. And don't go far, the next video breaks down the bulls that ended more careers than anyone wants to admit. Stay locked in.